Sometimes I think about who I was before all of this happened. Not with sadness, not with shame, but with understanding. I understand why I trusted him. I understand why I stayed calm for so long. I understand why I didn't leave at the first sign of doubt. I was hopeful. I was patient. I believed in people more than I believed in patterns. And that doesn't make me weak. It makes me human. I don't replay conversations anymore. I don't wonder what I could have said differently. I don't imagine alternate endings where he suddenly chose honesty. The truth is, the ending we had was the only one possible. People who betray quietly don't change loudly. They just find new places to hide. And I'm grateful I walked away before I became one of those places again. Here's what this experience finally taught me. You don't need to destroy someone to protect yourself. You don't need to yell to be heard. You don't need revenge fueled by anger to feel whole again. The most powerful move I made wasn't canceling his plans. It was canceling my access to someone who didn't value honesty. Sometimes the strongest revenge is living well. Living calmly. Living without explaining yourself to people who already chose not to understand you. If someone is playing with your heart, don't rush to expose them. Don't rush to react. Don't rush to prove anything. Step back. Watch. Choose yourself. Because when you stop reacting and start deciding, everything changes. And that quiet strength stays with you. Long after the lies fade. Long after apologies stop. Long after the person who hurt you no longer has a place in your life. That's the kind of strength no one can take away. Betrayal doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it waits until the room is quiet, until you finally let your guard down, until you believe everything is safe. That night, I was alone in my apartment, lights dim, phone resting beside me. Nothing felt unusual. Nothing felt dramatic. Life was moving normally. And that's what scared me later. Because when the truth arrived, it didn't come with panic. It came with clarity. My phone vibrated softly. Just one message. Short. Casual. The kind of message you send when you're comfortable. When you're not worried about who might see it. It wasn't meant for me. I read it once. Then again. My chest didn't tighten. My heart didn't race. Instead, a quiet heaviness settled inside me, like my mind finally stopped fighting what my instincts had been whispering for months. In that moment, I understood something painful. He didn't betray me loudly. He betrayed me carefully. Before that night, I would have defended him without hesitation. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't dramatic. He was calm, steady, attentive. He listened when I spoke. He remembered small details. He made me feel seen in ways that felt rare. After past disappointments, that kind of attention felt safe. He said honesty mattered to him more than anything. He said he hated lies. He said he wanted something real, something lasting. And the dangerous thing was, his words matched his tone. There were no red flags at first. No sudden disappearances. No obvious secrets. Just consistency. Just comfort. We built routines without realizing it. Morning messages. Night calls. Small check-ins that made the distance between us feel smaller. He talked about the future in quiet ways. Not big promises, just simple plans that sounded believable. Trips. Moments. Experiences he said he wanted to share with me. I didn't realize then that those plans weren't commitments. They were cover. The first doubt was easy to dismiss. A message left unanswered longer than usual. A call that didn't get returned. When I asked, he smiled and apologized calmly. "You're overthinking," he said gently. And I wanted to believe him. So I did. Then it happened again. And again. Small gaps. Tiny inconsistencies. Nothing big enough to confront. Nothing solid enough to accuse. Every time I felt unsure, he had an explanation ready. Work stress. Family issues. A long day. His confidence never cracked. So I started questioning myself instead. Maybe I was insecure. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I was seeing things that weren't there. That's how betrayal grows. Not by force, by convincing you to doubt your own instincts. The trip was his idea. He talked about it with excitement I hadn't seen from him in a long time. He planned every detail out loud. Flights, hotels, activities. He sounded proud, almost relieved. It should have made me happy. Instead, something felt wrong. The way he spoke about it, the way he used I more than we, the way his excitement didn't include me, even when he talked directly to me. By then, I had started noticing patterns, names appearing more often, energy shifts when certain notifications came through, moments where his attention drifted without explanation. I didn't confront him. I watched, because when someone thinks you don't see them, they stop hiding. And while he was busy planning his perfect escape, I was quietly preparing myself for the truth. It wasn't a dramatic confrontation. It was quiet. A message arrived late one night. Short, casual, from someone I didn't know well. "Hey, are you with him too?" At first, I stared at the screen. My hands didn't shake. My chest didn't pound. The calmness was shocking. Not panic. Not anger. Clarity. The details matched perfectly, the excuses, the tone, the patterns. Everything I had doubted for months suddenly lined up. I realized then that I hadn't been imagining anything. He hadn't been honest. I wasn't special. I was convenient. That realization hurt more than any shouting or confrontation could have. Most people assume revenge starts with a fight. It doesn't. Revenge starts with control. I didn't confront him because I didn't need to. I had the answers. What I needed was clarity and the patience to watch him reveal himself. So I stayed calm. I smiled when he spoke about his trip. I nodded when he shared his plans. I listened, but not with love anymore, with awareness. He relaxed. He repeated mistakes. Names slipped. Timelines didn't align. Little contradictions appeared. I kept every detail in my head. Every slip, every lie, every sign of carelessness. Because silence doesn't mean weakness. It can be a weapon. One morning, while he was busy organizing his perfect trip, I sat alone and thought. I didn't want to embarrass him. I didn't want to argue or confront. I wanted peace. The trip, which represented excitement and freedom to him, was irrelevant to me. But it was his pride, his investment. I decided quietly, calmly, that I would end it. Not with anger, not with drama, but with control. No announcement. No confrontation. Just action. I would cancel his plans. And I would do it silently. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse him. I logged into what I had access to and canceled everything he had arranged. Reservations, activities, flights. No messages, no warnings, no dramatic scene. When he later called, confused, asking what happened, I listened. Let him speak. Let him panic. Let him realize for himself that the control he had taken for granted was gone. And when he asked me if I did it, I only said the truth. I knew. And I ended it calmly. For the first time, he was speechless. When he finally understood, it wasn't with anger. It was confusion. Panic. The kind that spreads slowly at first, then consumes you entirely. He kept asking questions, his voice shaking slightly now. Did you do this? I didn't need to explain. I simply told him I knew, and that it was over. The confidence he always carried vanished in an instant. Every carefully built excuse, every practiced story he had relied on, crumbled under the weight of his own carelessness. And in that silence, I finally felt relief. Not joy, not vindication. Relief. Because the waiting, the doubt, the pain, it had all been worth it to reclaim myself. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I didn't offer closure or demand apologies. Because closure isn't owed to someone who never respected honesty in the first place. The last time we spoke, he asked why I was so calm. I said it simply. I stopped trusting you the moment I stopped needing you to be honest. And that was the end. No dramatic exit. No bitter confrontation. Just a quiet, deliberate choice to walk away. Life didn't change overnight, but it changed steadily. Anxiety faded first, then the constant urge to check my phone, then the habit of replaying every word, every glance. I slept easier. I breathed more freely. I laughed again without forcing it. I realized how much energy I had wasted trying to maintain something that was never real. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt genuinely free. The betrayal had taken from me, yes, but walking away, calmly and thoughtfully, had returned more than I had ever imagined. Control, clarity, and the knowledge that I would never allow this to happen again. I didn't tell anyone what he had done. I didn't need to. When someone builds their life on quiet lies, all it takes is one missing piece for their world to start unraveling. His story stopped matching reality. People around him started noticing gaps. Friends questioned him. Plans he had made for months fell apart. Not because I exposed him, but because I stepped away. When I stopped being part of a story, the foundation he relied on quietly crumbled. He lost more than a trip, more than my trust. He lost the illusion of control. And for the first time, I felt no guilt. Weeks later, he reached out. Different tone this time, softer, careful, almost respectful. "I miss you," he wrote. "I understand what I lost now." I read the message once. Then I put my phone down. Silence doesn't always mean indifference. Sometimes it means protecting yourself, refusing to reopen doors that should remain closed. Sometimes it means proving strength without confrontation. That quiet, deliberate calm spoke louder than any argument could. Betrayal doesn't just break trust. It rebuilds you if you let it. I became more aware, more selective, more unwilling to give access to people who hadn't earned it. I didn't harden, I sharpened. I learned that peace feels better than revenge. That calm lasts longer than anger. That walking away quietly can echo louder than dramatic confrontation ever could. I learned that strength is choosing yourself, not punishing someone else. For a long time, I thought choosing myself meant being selfish. I was wrong. Choosing yourself means trusting your instincts, believing your feelings, protecting your peace. It means understanding that closure doesn't always come from explanations or apologies. Sometimes closure comes from clarity. I had mine. I didn't need him to understand. I didn't need him to regret. I didn't need a fight. I just needed freedom. And finally I had it. Sometimes I think about who I was before all of this happened. Not with sadness, not with shame, but with understanding. I understand why I trusted him. I understand why I stayed calm for so long. I understand why I didn't leave at the first sign of doubt. I was hopeful. I was patient. I believe in people more than I believed in patterns. And that doesn't make me weak. It makes me human. I don't replay conversations anymore. I don't wonder what I could have said differently. I don't imagine alternate endings where he suddenly chose honesty. The truth is, the ending we had was the only one possible. People who betray quietly don't change loudly. They just find new places to hide. And I'm grateful I walked away before I became one of those places again. Here's what this experience finally taught me. You don't need to destroy someone to protect yourself. You don't need to yell to be heard. You don't need revenge fueled by anger to feel whole again. The most powerful move I made wasn't canceling his plans. It was canceling my access to someone who didn't value honesty. Sometimes the strongest revenge is living well. Living calmly. Living without explaining yourself to people who already chose not to understand you. If someone is playing with your heart, don't rush to expose them. Don't rush to react. Don't rush to prove anything. Step back. Watch. Choose yourself. Because when you stop reacting and start deciding, everything changes. And that quiet strength stays with you. Long after the lies fade. Long after apologies stop. Long after the person who hurt you no longer has a place in your life. That's the kind of strength no one can take away.